When you think about the overall landscape of the work you do and what you know about the philanthropic world, I'm working with life insurance people, investment people that you would know. And I'm working with nonprofits as well. And one of my challenges and hopes is to bring them together in a network where they can collaborate for their mutual benefit and the benefit of the people they work with, benefits of their communities. Do you have any thoughts on how to make that a practical reality?
The first thing I guess I would suggest to the financial advisor and the life insurance advisor is to work with the business owner and have them understand what financial security means to them. What kind of asset value do they have to have that they then draw an income from for the rest of their life in order to be able to leave their business? Because unless an owner can be assured of financial security, they're simply not going to leave their business. And again, unless they leave their business and have a liquidity event, there frankly probably isn't much for the charity. Because the owners, as I said, tend to keep the money in the business to grow.
Right.
So that's really an important step, and it's a step that unless we take, owners are not going to move forward. I like to tie these two concepts in the life of significance and financial security by saying that owners usually don't sell their business for the money, but they won't sell their business unless they have enough money. So in order to sell a business and move on or transfer business, they need the assurance of financial security that then will enable them to move forward and have that life that has a life of significance, a life of meaning, however we want to describe it. That's where the charity can be involved in helping to chart out or provide ideas and form that. But also the advisor can be useful to the business owner in making sure that that first element is also attained, which is financial security. So they really work together, I think, hand in glove.
Thank you very much. Have you seen much interest from nonprofits in this market? My impression is this is an untapped opportunity. Do you have that impression too? That the nonprofits have not, the insurance industry is alert to this, but how are the nonprofit people?
The one area I have seen some activity is in donor advisor funds being used as a receptacle for a transfer of closely held ownership interests. I mean, there's some discussion of things like that, but by and large, owners aren't going to do that. What they would rather do, Phil, is to say, let me sell my business for $15 million or $20 million, and then I'll just give $3 million to a charity. And I realize that that does not make any sense from a tax standpoint, but for owners it makes all of the sense from a security standpoint.
Right.
And that's what they're going to tend to end up doing. So they want a simple solution for a lot of their planning, at least initially, until they have a liquidity event. So your answer is, the real answer to your question is no, I see very little interest on the part of charitable organizations, plan giving officers, and working with closely held business owners now. I very seldom see that.
For this, I hope it changes, because if you visualize the liquidity event has happened, it happened yesterday, and the person is sitting on a pile of cash, you don't want to be the last person in line behind the investment advisor and 14 other charities. Now you're interested. Why are you interested today when I sold the business yesterday? You were never interested in me before. Wouldn't it make sense to get in a little earlier?
Yeah, another interesting client I represented years ago, that's exactly what one of the charities in his community did. He owned a business. He had a lot of single mothers or maybe even married mothers working in his company, and he was approached by a nonprofit that provided daycare for working mothers. So he was interested in that. He gave them some support. When he sold his business about 5 years later, the first thing he did, he sold it for about $20–25 million in cash. He gave a gift of $1 million to the local public foundation to establish a daycare center for working mothers. And he did that because of his previous relationship with a nonprofit.
That is an absolutely great story to end on. Why don't I end there? And then is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered?
Perhaps one other point that would be worth covering. I think one way that the nonprofits can get involved with business owners right now is to provide more resources in the form perhaps of just educational seminars to let business owners know that they understand that there's a lot involved in this exit planning process. Give them some exit planning tools perhaps, but talk to them also about how they can just sit down and help them think through what their life may look like after they leave their business and how that might involve civic and charitable activity on their part.
That is a great suggestion. I think it's very doable too. That's the kind of thing they would be very good at doing.